Hey producers, today I'm going to be delving into the world of texture with Texture. I've got myself a nice breakbeat sample, but at the moment it's a little bit bland. I want some shimmery, high-end percussive sounds to just sit on top of it and breathe into it some organic life. I've also got myself a beautifully gloopy, alien-sounding percussion loop. I'm going to use this as a sound source for my texture. Let's see what happens. So let's open up Texture and import our sample, which we just heard. We want to make sure we're in the granular section of the sampler because this is where we're going to get our glitchy, volatile texture. Let's just have a play around with the different settings until something pops out. Gonna up the jitter size for maximum glitchiness. Don't forget to play with the envelope too. We want to coax this sound out a little more, and I need to up the decay and hold to do so. Let's up the density too to get multiple grains playing at once. It's a little like unison on a synth. Color knob affects which part of the sample is being played, so you can get some really cool effects. However, I'm going to leave it in one position and let the LFO modulate it. The dynamic section includes a gate, which is really useful if you only want the peaks of your texture to poke through. But in this instance, I'm going to leave it off as I want a more full sound. The modulation tab is where we can get really crazy. Let's use Texture's built-in LFO to get some movement going. First, let's set the speed and phase. Then it's the pitch, color, and cutoff controls that really transform the texture. Color is particularly potent at morphing the tone of our texture. As you can see, the color LFO is now constantly changing the part of the sample that we're using, which creates a great dynamic sound. I want my sound to go subterranean, so let's push it in that direction. I'm just going to push the mix for a second so we can hear it better. If you really want to explore the possibilities of this sound, you can start modulating the envelope too. However, I'm quite happy with what I had before, so I'm going to dial it back a little. Even though I do like the bassy element of this texture, I need to bear my mix in mind. So I'm just going to high pass filter at about 500 Hz to clean it up using the Texture EQ. If we want to hear the texture a little better while we're working on it, we can bring down the volume of the original sample to help our focus too. So we've got a pretty good texture sitting on top of that break now. By adding some organic glitchy top end, it's done exactly what I set out to do. Now I feel like adding a delay to it, so let's take a look at the best way to do that. Let's duplicate our texture onto track 3, and on this track, turn off texture so we just have an original dry breakbeat. Then head into our original texture patch on track 2, switch the mix so that we can only hear the texture itself. We can then apply delay to this texture alone, then layer it with the dry sample for a clean, punchy delay. Another great thing about Texture is that I can save my patch as a preset and apply it to other sounds. So that's just a couple of different ways to use Texture in your productions. There's a lot more you can do with this plugin with its huge library of presets, sound sources, and sample modes. Go and take a dive in yourself and have fun.